welcome to Let's Make Art. I'm so glad you're here to paint with us. We have people here painting with us. I'm so excited that they're here and you're here, and we're just gonna hang out and have a good time. That's what this is all about. I'm Sarah Cray. I'll be telling you what to do most of the time. Keenan is doing our camera work, so you'll hear him pop in and out.
Hello.
Hello. And just to give you guys a heads up, the cord broke for our close-up side cam. We have a new one on its way. But for this video, we won't have any close-ups, correct, Keenan?
Correct. I'm so sorry.
So sorry about that. But we had close-ups in the pre-recorded tutorial, so maybe that would be a better thing for you to watch this time. But next live paint along, we'll have that cord. We'll be ready to go. We have Jen here painting with us today, so welcome.
Thank you.
We have Jacob painting with us today, and we have his mom, Maria, if you just want to stick, can you, she's gonna lean in. We have her on the corner here of the table, and I'm really excited that they're all here painting with us. I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah, that's about it. If you don't know Let's Make Art, we paint fairly regularly. Every week, I would say, actually.
Around every week.
Around every week, sometimes twice. No, every single week we paint. Tuesday night, we are here with you guys painting. And this week, we are doing our pickup truck tutorial. Super fun. I'm really excited for this one. I've been seeing some of the ones you guys have been posting on our Facebook group, and they are amazing. You guys are doing really awesome with this tutorial. And we have 4 colors today. So we have red, we have black, we have pine green, and dandelion yellow. The Dr. P.H. Martin equivalents, if you have those paints, are scarlet, black, jungle green, and daffodil yellow. But basically you just need like a green, a yellow, a red, and a black. So whatever colors you're using from home, if you're using your own supplies, which is totally great, just those 4 colors will be awesome. And we're using 2 brushes. We have a round 6 and a round 2. Those are our 2. And then you guys get 3 sizes there because I didn't have enough round 6s. Because all of our round 6s we are using to mail out orders. So
it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. You guys are the ones that get them. And we just have I think 4 steps for this video.
I can't remember how many steps.
Keenan, we need to like write it on a whiteboard or something.
Like we did before.
Yes.
That's what we did.
Okay, so the very first step, we are going to put in the red on our truck. The second step, we are going to do our tires and the just black elements. There's like some little shadows here and here. Our third step, we are going to do our tree. And our last step is just details.
Details.
Details, Keenan knows that. So just 4 steps. We'll be here the entire time. Feel free to ask questions as you're painting. I'll try and answer them as I can. And besides that, we're here just have a good time, right? Yeah, okay. So before we get started and before we do we do our oath first or our outline first?
I'm not gonna lie to you, we ask that same question.
Every time. I need to write it on my hand. I still don't know the answer.
Okay. We'll do the oath first?
Okay, oath first. Okay, so everybody raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Good job. I love starting with that because sometimes when we're new to something, we are really nervous, and that's not what art is about. It's not about making the perfect painting. It's just about creating and having fun. And also sometimes with art we get kind of, we're kind of like, oh, I'm not good at this, so I can't do that. That's not how art is. You get better the more you do it, the more you practice, the more your skills increase. That's all it is. And so as long as you guys are here painting with us every week, you're gonna get better, and it's gonna be amazing. So let's start with, we're gonna trace our outline first. And you guys all have outlines. Here's your graphite paper. And so if you have never used graphite paper before, what you're gonna wanna do, it's folded up. If you have our subscription box, it's folded up with your postcard. And you're going to take your outline and tape it to the top of your paper like so. Can I borrow yours for a second? This is Jacob's here. So you take your outline, I tape it, and then that way I can kind of check it while I'm tracing it, and I don't lose my place because it's taped down. So I can kind of move it as I'm checking it. And then you are going to take your graphite paper. There's two sides. There's a side that's darker. That's the part that has the actual graphite on it. And you are going to put that dark side down so it's on your paper. And then you're going to take a pencil or a pen or even the back of a brush, anything, and just start outlining the lines that we have for you. So here is a pen, here is a pencil, here is a pencil for you. And just kind of start following those lines. Now what I like to do is I like to do a line first and then I go and check it. And then if it's too dark, then I'll do a lighter pressure while I'm tracing. Because this graphite paper is pretty strong, so we usually don't want our lines too dark because watercolor is transparent. So these pencil marks, you're most likely going to still see through your watercolor, which for the most part is okay. When I do my own work, my illustrations, all of that, I use graphite paper and I just trace lightly so then the line isn't very obvious. But if it's super dark, kind of just adjust your pressure and try it from there. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And also your graphite paper is totally reusable, so don't just toss it after one use. It actually gets better with time because as it ages, that graphite kind of wears off and the light is just gonna, the lines that you draw with it are just gonna become lighter naturally because the graphite's wearing off. So I think the graphite paper that I use is honestly probably about 4 years old. That same sheet.
Wow.
I know. It works great. I love it.
That's cool.
So
That's good news because I would have kept.
you would have kept tossing and yeah, you want to keep using that baby. It's actually, the older ones are a little bit easier to work with.
Is there a way that you found to make sure you don't retrace the same spot multiple times? Or?
Yes, there is a way, and that way if there's a line that you missed or maybe from retracing the same lines, you can use a colored pencil or just a colored pen,
Crayon.
a crayon, a marker maybe, to trace because then it's colored and you will know the lines that you did or did not. Actually, sometimes I even trace with like a marker, like a thin tipped marker, because the pressure itself is softer. So the line naturally is a softer line as opposed to a pen. But you know, don't stress about it. It's just, oh, Blake wants to know, do you trace every detail? So I try and trace most of the lines that are on the outline. You're probably going to miss one. I probably missed one in this tracing here. Just eyeball it if you do miss one. I know this outline is pretty detailed. What I try to do is, because usually I paint the project and then do an outline from the project, and sometimes the outlines are off just a little bit, and so I thought, what if I scanned the project and turned it into an outline in Photoshop? That's what this truck outline is. And I think it came off a little bit too detailed than usual. So don't stress if there's like a couple lines you're missing, especially with the tree. The tree, you really just need the general shapes because, as I always say with outlines, they're general rules and guidelines. They're not set in stone. It's not like a coloring book. You know, they're just there to kind of remind you of where to put stuff. So don't stress about the outlines at all. Yeah, Carissa said that she finds when she traces every detail, more pencil lines kind of show up in her finished project. So if it's better for you to just do the general shapes, that's totally fine. Whatever you feel comfortable with.
We got a hi from Australia.
Oh, hello, Australia. Thank you for joining us. Glad you're here.
I bet it's warmer down there.
Yeah. Yeah, what's the weather like there?
Down there.
Down under. She's probably so irritated I just said that. It's like, we're so tired of that.
She'll probably come back with the Midwesterns.
Yeah. Oh, and if you can, try and make your tree as light as possible The truck you can make a little bit darker, but the tree, try and get that nice and light. If it's still kind of dark, that's not a big deal. Just, you're doing good. You're doing great. Yeah, Andrea said it looks nice and warm in the studio. It's definitely warmer than it's been.
It is. I'm not wearing a coat.
Keenan's,
I'm wearing a long sleeve flannel shirt.
Keenan's not wearing a coat. I'm not like cuddled up, blowing air in my hands. I'm trying to think if there's any other announcements I need to make. What I did, I usually trace just mine before because I have a really hard time talking while drawing the lines. So I noticed that like if I do it before, then this is a great time for me to just give you a lot of information. Because usually when I'm tracing, I'm just not talking at all. So that's what's going on right now.
Luckily, you're great at it.
Yeah. So you guys keep on going on, and I'm just gonna talk to Phyllis time. Oh, our January subscriptions are going to start shipping the end of this week, I'm pretty sure. So you have until the 25th to order the January box if you're not already a subscriber. We have some awesome projects. If you don't know what is in the January box and you would like to know, you can find that on our website. I think if you go under, if you search the gift subscription box, there is actually a picture in the detail images of what all 4 projects are. So if you would like to know, you can take a look there. Some of you guys like to be surprised, which is so fun. But if you would like to know, you can look on there. Oh, Rayanna asked, when is the special happening with ornaments? So that tutorial is going to be released tomorrow. I'll talk more about that at the end. But we did, me and Nicole, who is our brush lettering artist who comes into town, we did this super fun bonus project, and we're releasing the tutorial for it tomorrow. Now this one, it's not accompanied with a kit, but we will have an outline for you guys, so you can just use whatever supplies you want, and you can get the outline from our website, and then you can just watch the tutorial and paint those for fun in your own time. So we'll release that tomorrow. Keenan, is that okay? You're looking...
No, that's perfect.
Because you finished editing it, yeah?
I thought it was going to be up on Monday. I didn't even think about that.
Well, today's Tuesday.
Yesterday.
So you thought it would be up yesterday?
Yeah, the ornament one.
The ornament one.
Yeah.
Well,
I was like...
Keenan's like, wait, did I do that one? You did, you're fine. You're good. You're good to go. Okay. Oh no.
Today's Tuesday.
Did you use your graphite paper?
Was I not supposed to?
No, you were. Did it trace onto your paper?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you did the entire outline without putting graphite paper on there. Because I've done that before. No, that's excellent. No, that's perfect. I'm sorry. I just saw her graphite paper folded up, and I'm like, no, it's the worst feeling when you thought you traced your project and then you lift up and you realize you never put the graphite paper underneath there. I've done that so many times.
On YouTube, Daniel wants to know if you've ever used the pan or tube watercolors.
Yes, I have used both pan and tube watercolors. They're great. They're a lot of fun. If you guys don't know the difference, tube watercolors come in little tubes and they're kind of creamy. And there's a bunch of different kinds, bunch of different brands, bunch of different colors. They're super fun. And the pan ones are almost that same thing, except they put them in little trays and they come dried. So it's like the same tube paint that's just already dried in a pan, which is perfect for traveling because you already have them in like a little pan that you can just add water to and they come back. Both of those are a lot of fun, really great. I prefer the liquid ones because they tend to be really vibrant because they're dye-based as opposed to pigment-based. So tube paints and pan paints are usually pigment-based, and the liquid ones are dye-based, so they're more vibrant. That's what I like to do. And And for me, I noticed that they blend a little bit easier for me. So, it's honestly, it's all personal preference. If you like the tube and the pan better than liquid, that is totally fine. Every different artist is going to have their preferences, and there's nothing wrong with it at all. I would like to say that the pigment-based ones, usually, it depends on the brand, but usually they're light fast, which means they won't fade in direct sunlight, where liquid ones, if you put them in direct sunlight, they can fade. So just keep that in mind as you're painting. As an illustrator who scans my work and really just kind of paints for fun, that the light fastness is not super important to me. But if it is for you and it is for some artists, which is totally great, then you'll probably want to stick to the pigment-based paints, which are tube or the pan ones. So those are kind of the differences there. Yes?
So they said you should draw a llama.
We should draw a llama. Are you wearing a llama? Yes! Do you know, actually the nickname for Let's Make Art is we call ourselves llamas. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that started. I think because our initials, we accidentally put like an extra A in between LMA, so it's LAMA. So people call us llamas. So we for sure should paint one. That would be a lot of fun. Vicky asked, can you mix 2 paints with liquid? Yeah, you can mix all of them. I've even mixed in gouache with liquid or gouache with tube. They're totally, you can mix them together, nothing wrong with it, but just keep in mind that if you do mix them, I don't know what would happen if you put them in direct sunlight. I don't know if some parts of the paintings would fade or not. That's the only thing I don't know. But yeah, you can totally mix them together. Okay, I'm trying to see if there's any other questions. Keenan, do you have any over there? Are you good?
I do. I have 2 questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
1 from Pam.
Pam.
What order do you put your paints in your pan?
What order do I put my paints in my pan? Great question, Pam. So this is my Butcher Tray palette, and I love this palette because I get this whole area to mix. And there's not a specific way that I put my paints in, except for if I know I'm going to mix 2 colors, then I put those ones next to each other. Like the yellow and the green, I know I'm going to mix those, and they sometimes like run into each other, and that's okay because I'm going to mix them anyway. And then that's the only thing I kind of really pay attention to when I'm putting my colors in my tray, is just if I'm going to mix them together or not. Thanks, Pam.
Perfect. Second question.
I'm ready.
What's the difference from the liner brushes and regular brushes?
Okay, excellent question. Somebody is asking about liner brushes and other kinds of brushes. So if you look on your paint brushes here, it will say like the type of brush it is, and then the number indicates the size. So this is a round, and a round usually just means that it has a bigger belly and then a narrow top. So you can do a thick and thin stroke in the same stroke. And so that's what I like to use because I like the versatility of that. Now liners are just long and skinny. They don't have a big belly, which means that you're not going to get really a thick and thin line in the same stroke. It's going to stay the same thickness. I like to use liners for details like whiskers, that kind of stuff, or sometimes when I'm doing animals like fur, because it's really easy to get a nice thin line with liners. So, and then there's a bunch of different kinds of brush. There's strokes, there's washes, there's fans, there's multiple types, but I've noticed that in the watercolor community that usually the workhorse or what you use the most are rounds. So that's what I use. Okay. Oh, Charlene wants to know how many drops of paint do I usually use. What I have in my palette, if I was by myself, this would probably be too much. These liquid watercolors usually go a really long way because you add water to them, right? That's not all the paint you will use. You add water to make them go longer. But because we share here our palettes, I tend to do more. So usually when I'm just like by myself painting, I'll do something about that big. And then if I need more, I'll just add more as I go. So, and that's why these tend to run into to each other a lot is because I put a lot on here. So if you're at home, you don't need to put as much on here. And also, these paints you can bring back after they've dried. So if your palette has dried, you say you leave this and you come back tomorrow, you can just add water to bring them back up, and you can just keep on painting. So don't feel like you have to clean out your palette every day, even when they're dry. You still can use them. Okay. Hello, Ruth. Ruth just joined in. How's it going? Yeah, that looks good. Yeah. He's almost there. Okay. And how's yours?
I think I got it.
You ready? Yeah, you got it. Okay, let's take this off. And you can just set that outline to the side. And if you have the kits, it's always handy to have the reference photo near you. If you don't have the kits, you can just have it on the screen. We post the pictures on our website. But it's always kind of nice to look at what you're painting while you're painting, because then if you ever get lost, you can be like, wait, what am I doing here? Okay. I think he just needs this Fender right here. Right there, that line.
Are we sure that's a Fender?
Is it? No, what is
I'm
it?
just teasing.
Oh, isn't it?
I couldn't tell what you were pointing at.
Oh, it's above the wheel.
Yeah, that's
The Fender, right?
This will be a lot of fun comments.
This is gonna be a good time, you guys. I think I got like 8 people commenting on our YouTube video that the step is called a runner.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah.
I need to take notes. Have it ready. Okay. So we're gonna put our outline to the side and we're gonna do some warm-ups really quick. So I want you to grab your extra sheet of paper. Now there are 2 sides to your paper, and I for sure should have mentioned this before you trace, so I'm really sorry. But there's like a smoother side and a slightly rougher side. Now this paper is very similar feeling, so sometimes I look in the light, and the ones that has more texture is the one you want to paint on, the one that has like a deeper indent in the texture. It's not the end of the world if you paint on the wrong side. I think I've even taught a couple videos where I painted on the wrong side and nobody even knew. So it's not a big deal. With this paper, because of the Canson and the weight of it, both sides are pretty similar, so it's not a big deal. But either way, let's get to painting. So grab your scrap paper. I'm gonna put my drawing to the side so I don't accidentally paint on it. Scrap paper, great. Grab a brush, any brush you want. And the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to do a value change. So a value just is about the darkness and lightness of a color. Now when you're painting anything that has form, you want to make sure that there is a full range of value, which means you have a dark part, you have a medium part, and you have a light part. So the wonderful thing about watercolor is instead of adding white paint to make a color lighter, you just need to add water. That's it. And the white of the paper is going to act as your white paint, which is why I love watercolor, because it's like makes my job so much easier. So, okay, so you're going to dip your brush in the water. You're going to hit it off the side, because sometimes you don't want your brush totally dripping and trying to go straight onto the paper with that. Too much water, you'll get puddles, your paper will start to warp, and that's not what you want. So you hit it off the side, and you're going to grab a color. Any color you want. I'm going to grab green, but you can do whatever color. Red. And I want you to start by doing like a rectangle almost on your paper. Just do a few swishes back and forth. And then I want you to kind of just rinse your brush just a little bit, and right where you left off, I want you to add water and spread it out to the right. Now if you're left-handed, you're going to want to go to the left. And so you can see here that just by adding water, we have a lighter value already. And then you just, perfect, exactly. And then you want to just keep on going, keep on spreading that water and color out until there's pretty much nothing there, like a barely there color. And that should be our lightest value. Yeah, very nice, excellent, perfect. And you just keep on going, because especially if you painted with acrylic paint or oil paint, you would look at this color here and you'd be like, that is too light, like that's way too light. But with watercolor, you actually really notice those subtle soft washes, which is what this is right here. So don't feel like it has to be this dark throughout the entire painting. It doesn't. We really want this range where we have a dark, we have a medium, and we have a light. Very nice. Okay, and I want you to do that one more time because this honestly is probably my most used technique. I always love to start with a brush full of color, and then I just spread it around using water. And you'll see that as we start filling in the red truck, as I just take my full brush and I just start going, and then I just dip it in water. I don't pick up any more paint, and I just spread it around. Very nice. Now, if you notice that you're getting a lot of lines that look like this, see how it's really rough? That just means you don't have enough water on your brush. So whenever you're trying to put this down and you're like, man, I'm not getting a smooth line, it's really textural, then all you have to do is just dip your brush in your water, kind of hit it off the side, and now you're getting smooth lines. Now sometimes we kind of want that textured look if we want to add another element on our painting. So don't feel like you can never do that, because you can. But if it's frustrating you when you want a smooth line, then just grab a little bit of more water. Okay. Yep, very nice. Very nice. Okay, I'm trying to think of what else we need to go over when we do this. We are going to practice kind of our tree textures really quick. So, if you'll notice here on our outline, we kind of have these like wispy lines on the edge of our trees because they're kind of like pine needles, right? Is this a pine tree?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah?
There are different types of Christmas trees, but we'll roll with pine just to keep our lives simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah? Are we in agreement? Anyways, it's a pine.
Fir tree.
Yeah.
Is it? Could it be a fir or evergreen?
Not an
Related
oak.
to
or
a-
maple.
Not an oak.
That's right.
I know it's not a weeping willow. I know that tree. That's about it. Okay, anyways, we get some really interesting texture lines on the edge here. So what I want you to just practice is just that movement. So, and this is because we're using a 6, we're able to get this kind of shape. So I want you to take, using a round. It doesn't have to be a 6, just a round, because we might use a 2 for this too. But I just want you to practice this kind of movement, where you're kind of like flicking it. And the goal here is we want the base of it to be thick and the top of it to be narrow. So it's kind of like, yep.
Like a check mark?
Kind of like a check mark, but I'm really good with trying to figure out sounds instead of describing what it is. Keenan, what do you think the sound of it, like whoosh, 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 whoosh,
That's
whoosh.
it.
That's
That's
it?
it, yeah.
Okay. So you're kind of going for like a whoosh kind of effect. So you're kind of starting off and you just like flick your wrist up
sideways.
and away. So if you want a thicker,
So sideways,
uh-huh,
like that.
yes. Yeah. So yeah, and then what we're gonna do instead of like trying to do a hook is we're gonna just press the whole thing down and flick up. Like that. So, sorry Jacob, I hope it's okay I painted on your paper. No. I'm very bad at asking people if that's okay. So you're basically using the side of the brush to push down, and you get a thicker stroke that way, and then you almost like flick it up and away. And if you got to add a little bit of water because you're getting some funky textures, nothing wrong with that. So, and then try it on a smaller level. Now, when you're doing it smaller, it's not going to be as obvious the thick to thin because we're not pushing down hard with our brush. But I still want that shape at the end where it's kind of, it goes to a point almost, or it just kind of, it thins out, it narrows out at the top. That's kind of what we're looking for. Molly commented and she said, that's a Christmas tree. That's what I'm saying, Molly.
done.
Me and you are on the same page. Yeah. And then let's try that with our smaller brush. So we're going to move to our 6. I mean, R2. So sorry, this is R2. Or whatever smaller brush you have. It could be a 3, it could be a 1, it could be a 0. And I just want you to kind of practice that same thing. It's just kind of this like whoosh, 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 whoosh.
Just wanting to make a check.
Sarah, for that,
Yeah.
do you plant your hand? Is that for like more control, or is that for?
Let me see. You can plant your hand on this if that gives you a little bit more stable. But you don't have to. It just depends on your preference. So good question, Keenan. I'm kind of semi-planting my hand.
Semi-plant?
Semi-plant. So there's some pressure there, but it's like I still want to move across.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, very nice. And then let's see if we can get it nice and tight, almost like we're doing the edge of our Christmas tree. So it's gonna be like kind of like that. Like picture the edge of a tree so they're kind of connected. Jacob's like, I'm not gonna make that sound.
He's doing it.
Yes. Yes.
It helps when you
yes, it does help. Right, Jen? Maybe just a little like shh, 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 shh. Maybe a shh, shh will work better for you.
These may come out on the internet as well, all these sounds. I mean, obviously they're already there, but.
It's important.
Yeah, very nice. And that's because when we get to our tree part, the outline is for you to keep a general idea of where things go, but it's not like a coloring book where you fill in the lines exactly. We want a natural kind of edge, and so some of it is going to kind of go off outside of our outline, and that is okay. I just want you to feel comfortable making those brush marks when we get to that point. Okay. Let's get started. You ready for this, Keenan?
Always.
I'm ready.
I'm so sad and I feel so bad about that third camera.
The close-up?
Yes, because it always looks so much better with the warm-ups and all that.
You guys, I'm sorry. I will have to share with you that we were kind of scrambling, and Jen's like, did I surprise you by coming? And I'm like, oh no, this is how we always are right before. We're always getting ready. That's okay. One day we'll be super organized.
Just like at home.
Yeah.
Perfect.
She's like, great, I'm the same way. I'm like, perfect.
What number are you starting with?
Okay, so I'm gonna start with my larger brush. And that's because we're starting with step 1, which is we're filling in the red of our truck. So we're filling in this big, huge area. So if you have a larger brush, you're welcome to even use a larger brush if that makes it easier for you. And I would actually suggest sometimes using a larger brush and forcing yourself to work bigger. Sometimes when we're new to something, especially painting, we tend to want to just be really detailed and small the entire time. Don't do that to yourselves. That takes way too long. So I'm grabbing my water and I'm going to pick up some red, and I'm just going to start filling in my truck. So I'm going to start here, kind of where this corner is. So I fill it in, and then I'm just going to dip my brush once and spread out the color just using water. Now you'll see that there are some sections here on the fender and on the hood of the truck that are outlined, and those you don't want to paint because we're going to leave those for a glare. So you're just going to start.
I was going to ask, as a lefty, does it make a difference?
I don't think it makes a difference as a lefty. However, I've never been a lefty, so I don't
I just
know.
know with crocheting and other type of art things.
If you guys are lefty at home and you painted this and you have any suggestions for Jen, we'd love to hear them. Yes, very nice. That's okay. If you paint over a section that's outlined, first of all, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Second of all, if you can just paint that handle black if you want it to stick out. It's not a big deal. There are black handles on vehicles all the time.
Especially ones from the 50s.
Is that true?
I don't know.
Keenan, I always feel...
Don't explode like that. I'm trying to help you.
Keenan's like, come on, I'm trying to back you up. Don't...
Jeez.
Okay, you're right.
Not to get fired this week.
You're right. You're doing great so far.
you.
So far, I haven't felt the need to fire you. Okay, so we started to fill in our red. How heavy and red you want to make this. Like if this is too light for you and you want to do a darker red, you can do another layer on top. In watercolor, it's not a bad idea to always start lighter and then go heavier because you can always do multiple layers. It's kind of hard to take it away though, so that's why it's good to start light because you can make it darker after. Now the other thing I want to do while this is still kind of wet is I want to introduce a slight shadow. So I'm going to grab a tiny bit of black and I'm going to mix some red with it. So it's going to come out like this dark red. And then right here, right where it's meeting the fender, so where the car door is meeting the fender, right at this corner, I'm going to put in a little shadow right here. Just like that. And then similar to our value warm-ups, I'm just going to add some water to my brush and blend it out. Because we want like a smooth transition, like how we did our value warm-up. And the easiest way to get a smooth transition is to just put colors in, then make your brush damp and just kind of spread that color out. Just like that. And the reason why we want a slight shadow in there is because we want to make it clear that these are two different planes. So the wheel of the tire, or the fender, is poking out at us. It's coming at us, so it's closer to us. And this part of the truck is actually farther away. And we want to make sure that there's a difference between those two planes or surfaces. And so to push something back, you add a shadow onto it. Yep, very nice.
All right, so you took some of that.
And you're going to put it, yeah, right in this corner.
Right in that corner.
Right in that corner, and then kind of blend it out. Now, if you were to ask me, how far do I blend this out? There's not a set rule. You just want a smooth transition. So if that means that you keep on blending it out till it's nice and smooth, that's what you got to do. If you only need to blend it out a little bit before it transitions nicely into the red, then that is what happens in your painting, and that's okay. Yeah, very nice, very nice. And then you can just smooth out this top here so you don't get a hard line. There you go. That looks really good. Okay, Mary asked what I'm using to put my paints in. This wonderful Butcher Tray palette. It's sold out currently on letsmakeart.com. But we are getting new ones in. I think probably at the end of the month is when they should come, fingers crossed, so we can have those available. Until then. Is this one still on?
Yep.
Okay, great. Hello, hello, can you hear me? We good?
We're good.
Lost sound. Thanks, Tamara. We're back. Okay. So, now I'm just going to keep going on with my red. So I'm going to start doing the fender of my wheel. This one I'm just going to use red. And then there are, it looks like about 4 glare spots on here that I'm going to try and avoid. Now, if you end up painting on one, it's not the end of the world, you guys. It's not a big deal at all. Then you just won't have a glare there. And that's okay. Keenan. I'm just kidding. I was about to fire you. Just kidding, Keenan. You're doing great.
Listen, when I got here, the iPad was not plugged in. So
Ooh, weren't you the last person to record?
I don't remember.
Oh good, we fixed that quick. Good job, you guys. Okay.
I think you may have covered this, but on YouTube, Julie asks, how do you avoid getting lines when it dries?
Getting lines in the watercolor, is that what she's asking? You don't know? Was it Julie who asked that?
It was Julie.
Julie, do you mean lines in the watercolor themselves? Like as you add water, it might dry where there's hard lines? Let me know if that's what you mean.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So the reason for that is because each time you add, like if something dries and I try to blend it out right now, it's introducing water, it's pushing pigment, all of that stuff. So let's say that I do a drop of water here and it's creating a hard line. Now, if it dries for a really long time, it's going to be harder to blend out. But if it's still wet, then you're just going to take your brush that's damp and you're just going to work it back and forth to try and get rid of that line. So you're just working it. Now, sometimes that will work. If it hasn't been sitting there for too long, it should blend out. But I would like to say that with watercolor, honestly, those hard texture lines are my favorite part with watercolor. So try and embrace them because they're actually the coolest part, and that's what makes it, yeah, if you want to suck that up, you can. Good job. And now it's gone. Don't let those things bother you because honestly, that is what's going to make the watercolor yours and that's what makes it interesting. So kind of embrace those watermarks if you can. I try to. Okay. And we're just going to keep on going. So I'm going to move to the hood of my truck.
Keep on trucking on.
Keep on trucking on. Did you say that in the?
I think I did.
I think you did too.
It's not a big deal.
I loved it. Puns are my favorite thing. Okay. Now, I do have a door line right here, and I am leaving like the thinnest white line around that pencil line here. Just, and also between this wheel, I'm leaving like the tiniest, thinnest white line. If you don't, that's not a big deal at all. The reason why I tend to leave lines, white lines places, a lot of them is because like usually this door is still wet, and if I don't want to have the shadow bleed into the wheel, then I'll leave a little thin white line in between, and that way they're still separated. But sometimes they touch, sometimes things do bleed. I think even on the example here, the tire bled into that rear fender. Not a big deal. I bet you guys didn't even notice it till I pointed it out. So if it happens to you, don't get mad because nobody else notices those things. You only know it because you were there when it happened. So it's fine. Okay. And then another thing I would like to say is, like this red, if this is not looking red enough for you, like this might be looking a little too light, do another layer right on top, like that. Now you have great red color going, so I don't think you need to add another layer.
No. Do you think I need more?
I don't think you need more either. I think yours looks great. I'm going to do one little swipe on mine, but I'm going to leave it up to you. Okay, great. Yeah, you're doing awesome. We're going to move on to the roof of the car. Now, what I would like to say, which might be helpful because sometimes if we want a smooth line on the edge of something, sometimes what I'll do is I'll outline it first, so that way it's a nice, smooth, clean line, and then I'll fill it in. So for example, if I'm doing the roof of my car, I'll do the outline first. So I'm putting the edge in here, and then I fill it in from there. And that way, the edge here at the top is a nice smooth line. Now you do want to work kind of quick though, because if it could dry and you can have like different marks on your paper, but we're working fairly fast here, so it's not a big deal. And if for whatever reason, let's say you're painting and you accidentally like hit outside the outline really quick and you have a bump there, first of all, not a big deal. I do it all the time. All you have to do is just adjust the top of your truck to be a smooth line. And now you can't even tell that it's there. So if you do have some bumps, just move the top part of your truck so it's a nice smooth line. Now I do have some glares going on here. This is where a reference photo is handy because you're like, okay, which line is my glare? Which line is my red part? Which line is my black part? Would it be helpful if you had a truck?
Yeah.
Do you want me to find you one? Keenan, I think in the, oh, sorry, Jen. I think in that box right there that's open, there should be, see if there's a truck kit in there that we can steal a little reference photo from. Got it? Oh, I might have stolen the truck out of that one.
It's okay.
There's that whole stack. You just got to cut one
All of
open.
these?
Yep. Those are all December boxes that we can take one from. It's fine. Keenan's not doing anything anyway.
I'll
What was
remember
that?
when you find
That
it.
wasn't sure. Oh.
I love this texture that you have going on right there. That's super cool. Do you like that? Yeah, me too. That's my favorite part with watercolor. Okay. Now when you get to the tree edge, you don't want, like I have it in the outline here. You see how I kind of have like the tree poking off here? We don't want like a perfectly straight line because we want to keep the illusion that the tree is overlapping the truck. And if that were true, then the truck wouldn't cut off the tree. Does that make sense? So that's why I have an uneven edge here for the tree. That's what's going on right there. Okay.
Sure.
What box was that? Was that just a normal order?
I think it was. Where else could they be?
I'm telling you, they're in, try another box.
I'm okay.
No, we're gonna find this for you, Maria.
Names on these boxes.
Yeah, they're returns.
Okay, the return.
Yeah. I'm not like stealing people's orders right in front of their eyes. Is that one a December box?
What did I do?
Yes.
Did I miss something here?
Let me see. Okay. No, you didn't miss anything. There's gonna be a glare right here. Yeah, that's how mine is.
But it's connected at the top right here.
Right here? That's okay.
Okay.
You just you just put a mark in between your glares, but that's totally fine.
Okay, so don't continue to color.
I wouldn't continue to color that in.
Okay.
You can work, like, you'd fill that in. But I think that's good.
Okay.
Okay, we found a reference photo for you. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
how's everybody doing so far?
Good.
Good, you're doing great. Your trucks are looking awesome. We're gonna keep on going. So, we're gonna just start filling this part in. So I'm gonna do the top part of the, what is this? The bed of the truck? Is that what it's called? Thank you.
Nailed it.
Thank you, nailed it. And then as I work my way down, I'm gonna kind of avoid this rectangle spot. What, Keenan, what did somebody
I
say?
just get so much abuse.
what did they say?
On Facebook, Tamara says, "Way to go, Keenan."
What if that was a sincere way to go?
I don't know. I can't tell.
I can't tell.
I just automatically take it as abuse.
I ruined you. Okay. So I filled in my red part. Now same thing on this, kind of by this rear fender here, I'm gonna put a little shadow in. So I'm gonna start putting in a shadow. And the reason why I like to do shadows while the paint is still wet, because for me it's easier to make a smooth transition. But you can still put shadows in after something is dry, so don't feel like that is not a possibility. It absolutely is. I just like to do it because I feel like it just blends smoother. Keenan, question.
Question from YouTube.
Okay.
Carolyn, she says, "Help. Using Dr. P.H. Martin Radiant.
Uh-huh.
I often find I get the color separating once it dries. Am I not shaking enough before I lay them out or not mixing enough?"
And was it Carolyn that asked that question?
Carolyn said that.
Carolyn, Dr. P.H. Martin is actually kind of known for having multiple colors within their color, and it's totally normal for different pops to come out while you're painting and when it's done painting. For me personally, that's honestly what I love about them, because I think it just kind of adds to the whole experience of having different pops of color, of making something your own, all of that stuff. So with painting for Dr. P.H. Martin's for a couple of years, I have noticed that with some of their colors that absolutely happens. And for me, I've just learned to embrace it. There's not really anything you can do to stop that from happening because that's how they're made. Sometimes they mix a lot of colors to make that single color, which is why you're getting those hints of different colors. Like the golden brown Dr. P.H. Martin has strong hints of green underneath it. The antelope brown has green and red hints that you're gonna get. The slate blue has hints of purple that come out. I've always loved that about them personally. So if you don't love that about them, I'm very sorry. But I love that. I think it makes your artwork super cool to have like different colors going on. But I don't think there's an actual way to stop that from happening that I'm aware of. Okay, so I put in a slight shadow near my rear. Yep, exactly. Fender, wonderful. And I'm just gonna do this back end here. And then there's also going to be a shadow around this rectangle on the bottom part because there is a slight change in, you know how trucks have those different like faces on them? Like right here, this part right here. This part we're gonna put a shadow in. Because it's the same thing where it's like a slightly raised surface. This rectangle part is slightly raised on the truck. And I'm telling you, the more you paint anything, the more things that you notice that you've never noticed before. Because if you go look at your car, there's different sections of it where it's slightly raised or not raised or pushed down. And art is just about noticing those small changes and trying to replicate them. So we're just trying to give the hint that this is a slightly raised surface, so we shadow what's around it to make it come forward. That black is pretty dark, so I'm going to blend that out. Similar shadow to what you're doing near the fenders. It's just a hint. So I have it kind of on the left-hand side up here and then near the fender itself. Very nice. And then you just blend that out. So I like to put the shadow in and then I kind of rinse my brush and I hit it off my paper towel too, and that will absorb the excess water. And then I just kind of blend it out. Yep. Very nice. Very nice. Look at you guys. Doing so good. Okay. Now I'm going to start on the rear fender of my truck. Now this is still wet, and so to avoid this from bleeding or kind of getting in its way, I'm just going to leave a super thin line in between. And this rear fender also has a glare, so try and leave that if you can. Again, don't get mad when you're painting if you accidentally paint over something you shouldn't have, okay? Don't get mad at it. Nobody even notices. It's your painting anyway, and maybe there's not a glare there. So again, for a smooth line, I like to outline and then fill in. Just like that. And I'm gonna connect that wheel. So there's my glare going on. Remember, these outlines are just general. So if your glare gets smaller, gets a little bit bigger, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all.
Kind of makes it look cooler.
It does. It makes it your own. Very nice. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. How are you guys doing out there? I feel like you guys are doing great. I feel like we're all focusing and painting. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, you're doing awesome. I think what's happening with Jacob's that I'm kind of missing in mine is he's getting some super cool watercolor textures on his truck that
Here, that is so...
yeah, I'm really in love with them. Can I show it? Since we don't have a close-up, do you have the overhead? Yep. So he just has some great textures here and colors here, and this is what's gonna set his painting apart from everybody else's, right? Is like, these things were accidental elements, and that's the beautiful thing about watercolor. That's what we wanna embrace. So if you have that happen on yours, don't stress. You wanna be like, that part is actually really cool, and I don't need to take that out. Okay. Yeah, very nice. Yes. I haven't even asked you guys what your painting experience was. Do any of you guys paint?
No.
Not at all?
I've messed with it a little bit like that.
Okay.
This is the first.
Okay. What about you guys?
I mean, we've done your kits, and
Kits?
I painted. Actually, that's how I met my husband. He came to an art show and bought an piece of art and called me.
Really?
So,
Did you guys hear that? Can you hear her, or should I repeat that?
Repeat it.
She met her husband because he bought, was it your piece? He bought her art piece from an art gallery?
it was an art show.
Art show?
Inside a coffee shop in
And he
South Carolina.
called her.
And he got my number and called me.
That is awesome.
That's
Cute.
that's the best story I've ever heard. What was it of? What was the painting?
It was just abstract with, now I can't even talk, I'm nervous.
No, don't be
It
nervous.
was the, not acrylics,
Oil?
oil pastels.
Oil pastel abstract. I love abstract art. So you've done oil pastels and abstract and
Yeah.
yes.
And you painted a boat.
And I painted a boat from your pacifier, and that's the last.
Oh,
That's the
painted a
last
boat.
really big piece of art that I've done from me, other than your.
I'm
boxes.
so glad.
Cool.
That's so cool. That's the best. I'm just gonna like start telling people that's how I met my husband. I'm just gonna make that up. I'm just gonna steal your story. It's not how we met. You thought it was creepy? He's like, I bought your art. Can we go out?
That's so weird.
That's amazing. That's so great. Okay, sorry. Let's get back to our painting here. We're just gabbing away. I love it. Okay, I am going to move on to this rectangular part. Now, if it's dry, you can go ahead and go all the way to the edge there. Now, near the top, I am gonna leave a tiny, tiny thin white line, and that's because I don't wanna really put a shadow at the top, but I wanna show that there's that slight difference in the, so it's not totally smooth at the top either. So instead of putting a shadow, I'm gonna leave a little white line, almost like a highlight. Again, don't get mad at yourself if you paint over that on accident. Or like if you can see here, my white line disappears in the middle. That is okay. It doesn't have to be perfect the entire way through. If anything, it would make more sense for it to be imperfect because that's how we see things actually in nature, is light hits things differently. And so lines actually appear and reappear just depending on the light, kind of like a spider web. Like how you only see parts of a spider web depending on how the light is hitting it. It's the same for a lot of things, we just don't register it in our brain.
I missed a question on YouTube if you're willing to answer more.
I guess.
Okay.
It's kind of my job. What's up?
Pam's asking,
Pam.
how do I avoid getting tons of little bubbles?
Okay, if you're using our paints from our subscriptions on your mixing palette and while you're painting, that's just how these paints are, is you do get a lot of bubbles, but I've noticed that they actually smooth out when they dry and it doesn't really become a problem. It's just while the paint is wet, and that's just the chemical makeup of the paints themselves. So don't stress about that. You're not doing anything wrong. And you can see here on my palette, we have bubblies over here, but when they dry, they smooth out, so it's not a big deal. So don't stress, Pam, but great question, because that's not standard for other watercolors, so understanding why you're asking. Okay, so you guys, we finished step one. We did it. We painted our red truck. And you might be like, this doesn't look like it's done yet. Well, we still have a few steps to go, so don't stress. Okay, we are going to move on to our tires. So like the black areas. Now this paint, if you have our subscription boxes, this black paint is pretty thick. So right when you pick it up, it's gonna have like a thick texture to it. Just keep on adding water until it becomes nice and smooth. I've just noticed that with this black, you just gotta add a little extra water to it to get a smooth feel. And then, and the black is pretty strong, so you might have more on your brush than you know. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, when we do these tires are kind of funny because they're black and then the hubcap, did I say that right? Silver. It's like a gray color and it's metallic, and so metallics themselves have lots of changes in value and they're reflective, so they're gonna have dark spots, they're gonna have highlights, they're kind of funky to paint, so don't stress about those. And then the tires, because they're a form, are gonna have a highlight here. So what we have going on here is right on the edge here, this is gonna be the highlight of our tire. This all is going to be dark and shadowed, and then this part right in the middle here is like our metallic hubcap that has different values and things going on. So don't stress about the details of your tires because honestly they get kind of messy anyway. So I'm just going to pick up some black and I'm just going to start filling it in. And the reason why these tires aren't perfectly round is because we're also seeing the back part of fenders. That's what this kind of edge is here on this side. And then I think I have a little bit somewhere else, but we're seeing like the underneath part of the car as well as the tires, which is why they're not perfectly round. They have like a they're thicker at the top because we're actually seeing like the shadow or the underneath part of the fender. But because it's shadowed, it's all black anyway, which is why we just paint it all black. So I'm going to be putting my black in, and then when I get close to my highlights, I'm going to leave those white. Sorry, I stopped talking because I was focusing on getting a smooth line. And if your black isn't super dark at first, remember, just wait for it to dry and then add another layer of black. Sometimes if it's too wet and you try and make something dark, it's just not going to work. So wait for it to dry and do another layer, and that should darken it up. Now I'm going to kind of follow some of these circles that I have in the outline. So I'm going to kind of do one here, I'm going to do some here, and then this middle part of the hubcap, this like weird apostrophe thing, that is going to be a darker color. If you didn't outline it, just eyeball it. It's not a big deal. Because on the other side, that part is actually a highlight because the light is hitting the rear wheel different than the top wheel. Really, it's just not a big deal is what I'm trying to say.
Really?
Wheelie, the wheels don't matter.
Trying to summon the inner Molly.
I was just about to say, you're going to take Molly's place as the pun king. Oh, your husband commented, he says he still has the painting.
He does.
Oh, this is the best thing ever. I have to see a picture of what that looks like. Please send it to me when you get home. Okay. Was it like, I just saw this painting and I had to know who made it?
It was ugly. Like,
First of all, I don't believe that for a second.
Like, I felt like he was just buying it to get my number.
So did he meet you before he bought the painting, or?
So he had tried to talk to me. It's kind of a, like it was like this Christian coffee shop, and he would come to it, and his singles group would meet there.
Oh.
And so I remember being on the phone with my sister doing schoolwork because I was still in college.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, can you help me do this icebreaker? And I'm like, I'm not part of your group.
You're like, I'm not a part of this. I'm busy.
I don't have a name tag. And so he's like, oh, come on. And so he's like, ask me these questions like, what's your car color? And so I'm like, not telling him the truth.
Yeah. What's your car color? Oh, that's a little.
I mean, it was good questions. It wasn't like he was asking. Anyway, so.
Oh, it was the questions in the icebreaker game. Oh, that makes so much more sense.
Cool. Well, I didn't realize it was like him.
Oh, okay.
And then he came to this art show because it was posted for the Cultural Council Art Committee to come to my art show.
Oh.
So he came, and then I look over and he's playing chess with my brother. And I'm
You're like, who is
and
this
his
guy?
name is Chada. And I was like, what's your real name? Like, that's weird.
His name's Chada?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, what's your middle name? He's like, I don't have a middle name. I'm like, that's shady.
That's shady.
So, like, he pursued me. He's 9 years older than me. So
Okay.
he pursued me.
Uh-huh.
And it was just super genuine. And called me, like, the next day and was like, oh, do you want to get together? I'm like, I'm busy. You know, like, who's this guy?
Sorry.
That is
But
so
he's
great.
Your dad is
And
the sweetest.
how long ago was this?
12 years? Yes, almost 12 years ago.
That's so amazing. I'm so in
No,
love
it
with
was
this
12 years
story.
in September.
Wow.
And then we got married the following March.
That's so great.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you guys are on. I can't get over that story. I love it so much. Okay, sorry guys. Let me get back to my job of teaching you guys how to paint this. Sorry. Okay.
Story.
So we did our first tire. Now the highlights parts we're gonna leave white at first. We're not really gonna blend those out just yet. We'll do that kind of. That's okay. It's not a big deal. Oh, do you want me to show you something?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have Jacob's here, right? And he painted his tire and it's looking great. But we didn't leave a highlight in there. But you can lift color up, especially while it's wet. So you see this is nice and wet. I'm gonna take my brush, clean it of color and just get it damp. And I'm just going to lift up the color. You rinse it, hit it on your paper towel, and you just lift up. Just like that. So now you have your highlight back in there and you don't gotta worry about it.
I love that truck.
There we go. Now you got your highlight on your tire.
Thank you.
So especially if it's still wet, it's not the end of the world. Just take a clean, damp brush and literally lift up the color and then pat it on your paper towel and just keep doing that until you are happy, but don't make a hole in your paper because I have done that before too. Okay, so we're gonna move to the other truck, kind of same thing. We're gonna start putting our black in. Try and leave highlights. And I like to outline mine first along that smooth edge and then just fill it in. Now, sometimes your tires might not be perfectly round and that is okay. The bottom of your tire might flatten out. That is what tires do because the weight of the truck is pressing down on those tires and they're hitting the ground, which is flat. So if you have a round tire or if you have a slightly flat tire, totally fine. Both are correct. There's nothing wrong with that. Also, it's really hard to even if you're following an outline, super hard to make a nice smooth circle. It's a really hard thing to do. So don't get down on yourself if you just can't make a nice smooth circle because honestly, I think even following an outline is harder to do that too because you're trying to go along an edge. So, just remember to be kind to yourself, you guys. This is just fun.
I don't think it's possible to get a perfect circle anyway.
Yeah.
By hand.
By hand?
Yeah.
I bet you somebody can do it. I can't do it.
Somebody can.
I'm really bad at it, actually. That's why I use bowls to trace a circle or to paint with the circle because I can't freehand very well the circles. I just have a problem with making them, even my lines tend to kind of veer off, veer up and down. That happens to you, you're in good company. It happens to me too. We okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Just whoever used the iPad last didn't plug it in.
I feel like that was you. I feel like that's what was happening. Okay. Oh, Amelia says her wheels keep on looking like roses. Well, that could make sense because there's a lot of lines right here that are kind of similar to when we do our flowers, which is alternating lines. If anything, that probably makes your wheels look really cool. Okay, now when we get to the runner, I said it right, you guys. I remembered it. I'm going to start off with dark here at the top. So where this runner is kind of meeting the truck is where it's going to be a little bit darker. Like so, kind of near the rear and the front. And then I like to, if you want to use your 2 for this, you're welcome to. Sometimes if you got a nice light pressure, you can use your 6. But I'm going to do a couple just long, thin lines going across that runner because runners usually have ridges, right?
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
That's what we're painting here. That's why we have these kind of thin lines going on, just to give our viewer the hint of those ridges. Yeah, looks good. Now, if you want a thinner line, you're going to want to paint more on the point of the brush. So if you want narrow, then paint more vertical. If you want a thicker line, that's when you do the more sideways hold and paint with the belly of the brush. So that's how you can do a little, yeah. Yes, yes, I love the sounds. Okay, so, oh, also we have some gray areas on the top. That's for our headlights and our grill and our bumper. Nailed it. I nailed that, you guys. So you're just gonna you're gonna add a little bit of water to your black, which makes it kind of a gray. And this isn't super detailed over here. Basically, we're just kind of filling in this area with that gray. So kind of like where this bumper is, this is where the headlight would be, which Keenan informed me of. What did I call? I don't know what I thought that was. I called this the headlight. And you're like, no, that's a grill.
I think you were just thinking it was a highlight of some type.
I think so too.
This truck didn't have headlights until you might have realized that.
Yeah, I got lost in my painting. I didn't know what was what.
It happens.
It happens, you guys. It happens all the time. Okay, so just if you have a little door handle, you can put that in. If you paint it over yours, you make it black, not a big deal. You can even leave it white. I think I left mine white in the reference photo, so don't stress. And then now I'm going to do the silver part on my tires. So I'm just really taking a damp brush. I moved to my 2 because it's a little bit smaller. And I'm really just using the paint that's already there to spread this around. So I want it to be kind of like a gray wash. Same with the highlight, we want that to be kind of gray. Now the very middle of our hubcap, we want it to be a little bit lighter in color. So this one is going to be like a barely there color right in the middle here. Every time I paint these tires, I paint them differently, so don't stress if you're like, which part is what? I don't know, I just kind of paint stuff. It's fine, you guys. Yep, looks good. And the same thing for the other side, except we're gonna avoid that kind of comma outline in the middle of that hubcap because that's gonna be our highlight. If you didn't put that in there, not a big deal. I'm not mad about it. So you don't get mad about it either. Okay. Keenan, was it the first tutorial you filmed where I was doing the leaves and then I lifted it up and it dripped everywhere, or was that Brock?
That was probably Brock.
Oh, I felt so bad. We were painting like the fall leaves project, which is such a fun project if you guys haven't done that one. And it was super wet and I wasn't thinking, and I lifted my paper up and then all of these drips happened on the paper, and it was during the like video tutorial, and I was just like, well, we gotta roll with it because that's what's gonna happen sometimes. I think I added extra drips to like kind of make that work. Anyways, my point is things like that are gonna happen with watercolor. Don't get mad at it. You just kind of roll with it. Oh, also, I should be better. Try not to leave your brushes in the water. I just did on mine. So try not to do that. Hit it off the side, leave it on your side here. Did I steal your paintbrush? So sorry, Jake. he's like trying to paint with this tiny thing when I'm, sorry, Jacob. Sorry about that. Okay. Now, let's blend out our runner here. Basically, I'm just going to use the paint that's there, softly blend out the white spots that are there. Just a little bit. If you work it back and forth too much, then you're gonna lose those dark spots. You're gonna make it even out really easy. So with watercolor, when you're trying to savor a lighter area, you just wanna introduce it to a little bit by like back and forth really quick, and then you leave it alone. If I were to go here and work this back and forth over and over again, then those dark lines that I put in and these dark areas, I would lose. So a lot of watercolor is just like hitting something once or twice with the brush and leaving it alone, letting it do its thing. Very nice. Okay, now we're ready for our trees. You guys ready for trees? Okay, now what I want you to keep in mind with trees is your brain is going to tell you that in order to paint a tree, to make it look like a tree, you have to paint every single leaf and every single pine needle, and you just have to sit there forever and do 1,000 strokes, and I'm telling you it's not true. Don't believe it. Because how our eye actually sees trees is we see them in sections. So some sections stick out. Those ones are going to be highlighted. So if you look here, I have like chunks going on. So the shadow parts are going to be like underneath the sections. You have to think of it kind of like hair. If you were to paint hair, when there's a lot of small things, they kind of end up grouping together, and then you're essentially painting the shadows from those groups and the highlights, and then that's how you create form. So if you see in our outline here, we have a bunch of different sections, and we're going to start with putting our highlights in first. So I'm going to take my round 6 and some water. And I have really dirty water, but that should be okay. And I'm actually going to grab a little bit of green and mostly yellow. So it's going to be like, and they can see my palette. Yes, Keenan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yeah, it's going to be almost like this lime green color, very light. And this is going to be one of the highlights for our trees.
And more yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can add like a bunch of water. You want to take a big swoop of that and blend that in there, right in there, just like that. So with your highlights, what you're going to want to do, and if this is helpful to have, just take your, if you see the reference photo, that's what these sections here of like the light green are. So you kind of see those kind of throughout. So you're just going to take your light green and you're just going to start doing our and start putting those kind of chunked out through. They're going to kind of start kind of central to the tree and then work their way out.
Can you take a peek of my truck? Do I need to make this taller?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I think you just went to the top of your
Yeah.
rectangle. Is that right?
Got mine.
No, that's great.
Yours is great.
Yeah.
I just realized it when you were doing the shirt.
Yeah, just finish that top off. So, okay, so I'm putting in, and I'm also going in and just putting pure yellow in. So here and there. Now, this might stress some of you out because you're like, wait, where exactly do I put this and how many? This is free flow, you guys. This is you just playing around and messing with it. But what we're trying to do is we just want hints of highlights in there. So it's like, here's a highlighted section, there's highlighted over here, a little bit on the edge. Yeah.
Do you guys have any more red?
Yes, actually I have red right here because I thought we might need more.
Thanks.
You are so welcome. Okay, so we're kind of going through and putting our highlights in. Basically, I like to start with my highlights and then my mediums and then my shadows. So the mediums I'm going to use probably more of a regular, just the pine green. I tend to always mix a little bit of another color in with my green because I think it makes the green more interesting. However, that's totally up to you. But my point is, what you also want to keep in mind as you're adding your different values is you want to leave some white areas too. So if you're looking at your reference photo here, we have these little specks, little hints of white throughout. And that's because that's our like lightest value. That's our actual highlight. So we have a white as a highlight, we have a light yellow as a highlight, and then we start going into the medium values, which is just straight green, and then we'll start doing a really dark green and even some black. So we want that full range of highlights and values because that's what's going to give this tree shape. That's what's going to make it seem like it's sticking out and there's things coming out at us. So here are my highlights. Now I'm going to mix in a little bit more green, and I'm going to start introducing that to my truck. And I'm doing my whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And you can see I'm kind of keeping the shape of my whooshes. Like those are kind of the strokes that I'm using to fill in this tree. I'm not sitting there like full on coloring it in, right? We don't want to color that in. We want to kind of keep in mind this shape. So I'm starting to put in some green. Don't be afraid to even mix in some water in there. Let some of this bleed with the yellow that you've already laid down. We want it to kind of get messy. How's YouTube doing, Keenan? They doing okay?
Mary wants to know, why does the black get shiny at times?
The black gets shiny at times. I don't know. What does she mean? Like while it's wet? Could that be it? Mary? Possibly? See if she...
I will let you know
Okay.
as soon as she responds.
Another thing that I've learned with these paints is because they're super concentrated, if you use just straight paint in here, then you're gonna get a fuzzier edge. So if you notice that your tree is starting to get super fuzzy, I can't explain that any more than what I just said. Kind of has a fuzzy edge. Then you just need to mix a little bit more water in there and then kind of layer it. I don't mind the fuzzy edges on my trees because trees are kind of like fuzzy in their own way, so it doesn't bother me. But if that is a point of frustration for you, just keep that in mind. Okay, so I have my yellows, I have light greens, I have regular greens. Now I'm going to start putting in darker greens. Now, as a rule, you kind of usually want to put the darker greens underneath wherever you have your highlights. Because if it's highlighted, that means it's sticking out. And if something is sticking out, then that means that underneath it is shadowed. So as a rule, I put in my highlights, and now I'm putting in kind of more of my shadows underneath my highlighted sections. I'm still leaving some white chunks in.
Yeah, I'm not loving that.
Okay.
What's happening? Too much water?
Let's bring here. So I think this is a great start. The only thing I would say is we want to kind of blend this out a little bit. So I'm going to just, is that okay if I paint
Yeah,
on your painting?
it's okay.
Okay, thanks. So I'm going to start blending this out. And I'm not going to do a smooth, even wash because we want to keep some highlights in even over on this area. So I'm going to start blending out this way.
Do I need a smaller brush? Do you think that would help?
Well, right now I'm still using my 6, but when we get to our edges, I'm going
Is
to,
that good?
oh, I would maybe use a 6.
Oh, we don't-
Yes, that looks so good.
Good job, Jacob.
Yeah, I love how you leave these sections in between the green. That's exactly what we want.
You have a 2 or a 10.
I would use, here, use my,
mine.
No, I'm not taking yours.
here, you can use my
I
6. I
can
can do
use
this
that
with the 2. So, yeah, this is good. We're just kind of blending some of this out a little bit. And then you're going to go back in and you're going to put some shadows in underneath here when this dries.
The darker green.
The darker green, yes. But don't do that just yet. Okay. Now for Jen, can I take yours really quick?
Please. I'm having trouble left-handed. Get
Okay.
my little swishies.
Okay, so what, here, let me move this up.
That looks good.
I think it looks good too.
Thank you.
Thanks for saying that, Jacob. Okay, now this is especially true if you're new to painting. What you're going to want to do, and the thing that I'm noticing the most is that all of these marks are the same size. And that is totally normal. That's what your brain is telling you that you need to do. Don't listen to that though, because trees are not going to have the same exact mark across the edges on the edge, because different things gather, they're different chunks here and there. So the only thing I want you to keep in mind is basically the direction of your tree shape. It's going to splay out towards the right, which is kind of what we have going on here. When it gets to the middle, it kind of goes like this, okay? And then when it gets to the left, you kind of have it going over here. That's when it's going to splay to the left. So when you're putting these in, you want to kind of keep that shape where like it's splaying, and then in the middle it kind of straightens out, and then to the left it splays to the left, because that tree is around.
Okay.
So we want to keep that going. And then the other thing is, don't feel like you have to just do this movement across the entire thing. They can be more connected than that. They can connect a little bit more. So if I'm taking my green, then I can, we're still doing kind of wisps, but they're overlapping.
Okay.
They're overlapping a little bit more. So it's not a big deal. And then I think we just need a little bit more like variation in value to give your tree a little bit more shape. So that's why I'm putting in some dark here to introduce that. So just don't try and do that same shape around the entire thing. We want the silhouette to have different thicknesses and thins of that same kind of mark. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to start moving in with my darker layer, so I'm going to add a little bit of black.
Is mine open?
Yes, I think yours is looking great. Here, let's show Jacob's. I think his tree is looking really awesome. I especially love the highlighted parts in here. When we go in and do this dark green section, you're going to want to keep the dark green kind of more in the corner of the truck, because that's where it's turning away from us, because it's going into that truck bed. So there's going to be a shadow on that. And then I think a really good thing that you can do is you can take your light green and kind of on the edges here where we have some of these pencil marks, you can put some of that green in there too. And I think that's going to be a nice highlight on your tree. Okay.
Mary commented back on.
Oh, Mary, what'd she say?
Mary said, it's when it is dry, it ends up looking a little shiny.
Sometimes if there's a lot of paint in that area, it's gonna look shiny when it's dry. I have it a little bit on my wheel, like right underneath. When the light is hitting it, I have a shine to it. You see what I'm saying? That's normal if there's a lot of paint in that one area. It usually doesn't bother me, but it's the same thing. I don't know if any of you guys draw, but like when you take a 2B pencil and you want to make something super dark and you just do it really hard, it becomes shiny. That's standard when there's just too much of something in one area. So I hope if that's just happening, because for me, I did layers and layers of super dark, and that's why it's shiny, and it happened there, but I'm okay with that because I like how dark it is. Okay, so I'm starting to put in, yep, and then you're gonna wanna put a little bit darker here, because this is where the tree is starting to turn away from us. So this part is kind of highlighted because if the sun is shining on it, that's why that right side, and then the tree is coming out towards us, and then it's tucking back away from us, which is why the left side is going to have more shadow there. So I'm starting to put in my dark green. And remember to let it get kind of messy. A lot of times I like to put color in, and then I just take water and I blend the stuff out, and I let things mix and get muddy, and you know, I'm gonna get some funky water textures and hard lines in there, and that is okay. That's okay. That's fine. Just introduce some green in there. There you go. You're good. Okay. So yeah, you just have to think of trees like chunks of trees. You think of, and there's so many different types of trees there's not like a hard rule for all of it, but when you see trees, look at it more in sections Try and focus more on what you're actually seeing instead of what your brain is telling you you see. And I know that sounds so funny. And every time I said it, Al did not believe me. He like chuckled. He's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like,
There's a pattern.
yeah.
I see the pattern now, but when I look at this, I don't see it. But when I look at that, I can see it.
Yeah, you just have to start, looking in things in terms of light and dark. And once you do that, once you can look at an object and say, where are the highlights? Where are the shadows? Where's the transition? That, when you start to notice that, that's when it's easier for you to draw and paint the things that you see in real life.
Is there some yellow?
Yes, I have yellow. So just a little tip. I know it sounds so funny, but it's totally true and really helpful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Try and see things how they are in terms of light and dark. Okay, so I'm still putting in my shadows on my tree. Man, I'm talking a lot in this tutorial. Sorry, you guys. I'm just going off on everything. Okay. So even on my highlighted parts on the right side, I will still have some shadows in there. Not as much on the left-hand side because we have more highlights, but there is still some over there. So don't totally ignore that right-hand side from your shadows. Put some of those darks over there too. And then try and make the top of your tree as narrow as you can. So I like to do a nice, just thin line, just like that. And then I'll wisp from there, wisp away. Now, usually when I do trees, I like to do like general highlights first, and then I like to do the finishing touches last. So I'm still kind of putting in my shadows here, but as I get to the edge of my tree, this is where you're going to want to switch to a smaller brush if you have it, because we do want to do some textural detail lines on the edge of the tree. So what you're going to want to do is, I'm going to use like a lighter green for this, but you can use whatever green you want. Not like a high, like your medium value. So if that's just straight green, then that's great. And I'm just going to go along the right edge here, kind of where it's at, and I'm going to do a couple flicks, and it's not the entire tree. I'm not going to go across the entire thing and do flick, 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 because that's not how you would see it. It's just kind of here and there, a couple flicks. Just a couple little, and these flicks, they're going to be different lengths. They're going to be different thicknesses. That is okay. That's kind of what we want. But we're just giving it just a little extra detail than what's already there, just for texture.
Like that?
Yes, very nice. And then what we want to do here too is we can flick some of these up like that. Kind of go in, because sometimes these tree edges, they kind of splay. So I can move this in the center so you guys can see. So here's his truck, and I'm just going to kind of flick here and there. And we want these marks to be a little bit smaller. If you can try and make them a little bit smaller, that is great.
Okay, because I'm just using the belly.
Yeah, if you want nice and thin, then you're going to want to use the tip of the brush. So you're just going to kind of more be on top of it doing these little flicks.
Like this?
Yes. Very nice. Yep, that looks good too. And then I'm just gonna start messing mine up a little bit because it's just too like
Earthy.
I feel like this is. What do you think?
I think that's looking really good. Let me see.
I like it
I feel
because
like you can't. It's too dark in that one spot.
I think it's a little dark in that one spot, so you take this.
Do you want me to paint on you?
Just hold it for a second. I'm like, don't do it. No, I don't care. You can. I paint all of these projects like 4 times. So I'm like, sure, paint on it. I'm going to paint another one probably. I'm just going to introduce some shadows over here. Because you just need to break up that.
Did you use black?
I use black mixed with some green, but mostly black. So I'm just going to introduce a little bit of shadows in there just to break up that value and give us a little bit of depth. Because here we have great depth over here because we have range in our values. This one, because that green was all the same color, we need to introduce something else in there to give it some shape.
Yellow now.
Once you put these fill that in, you can't do a lighter value on that. If you have bleed proof white, you could use that, which is, we sell that. It's really awesome. I use it for detail work all of the time, because then you could put in some highlights in that shadow, but it's not a big deal. We still have shape to our tree. I think your tree is still looking really good. Do that over there. Yeah, there we go. Just blend some of this out. And then on your edges here, I'm just gonna mess up some of these lines that you made, if that's okay. I'm just gonna soften them just a little bit. So just here, here, here. There we go. Yes. And yes, that's looking really good. You have a nice dark, medium light. That's looking really nice. And I just want you guys to keep in mind, and I think the more you realize this, the more you're willing to kind of take chances and play. It's just a piece of paper. Don't let it get you down. You know what I mean? You just gotta, sorry, we're like, because sometimes I mess up, and you will probably mess up sometimes, and that is okay and totally normal in art. Just do another one. It's not a big deal. And most of the time when we mess up, we know what we did wrong, and that's a learning experience. And so you say, okay, I'm gonna do this one again, but I'm gonna pay a little bit more attention to where I put my highlights in my tree next time. There you go. So the more you kind of paint and the more you do something, the more it's not a big deal if you gotta do it again. And that's where I'm trying to get you guys, which is why we paint so much, is because I want you to be okay with making mistakes and taking chances. Sometimes we like something so much that we're afraid to make another mark or do something more, and that's normal and totally understandable, but then your painting's half finished and it will never be finished, and you can't really do anything with a half finished painting. So just remember, not a big deal. Okay. So I'm feeling pretty good about my truck. Honestly, if I were to do it over, I'd probably leave a little bit more yellow right here, maybe some more white spaces. But I'm not mad about it because it's a piece of paper and a painting, and I can do another one if I really wanted to. And I just got green right there, but it's okay because I'm gonna cover it with black. So we finished step 3. Yeah, this is looking good. I'm gonna switch, I'm gonna do this. Can I paint on this? Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna do, your dark values are looking good. We wanna introduce some darker values throughout too, so it gives it a little bit of that chunky shape that we're looking for. So I'm just gonna start putting them throughout here. But I like how dark you got in that corner. That's exactly what would happen. I'm gonna just do a little bit darker here. There we go.
And it bleeded on this thing, and I actually kind of like it because it's like the needles coming out.
I do too. I don't know, could you hear him good? Should I repeat that?
You should repeat that.
So his green kind of started to bleed with his red, and he said that he likes that because it's kind of like how the needles would come out with the tree, which is 100% right. So sometimes we just get those happy accidents where you're just like, I didn't really mean for that to happen, but that's cool too, and that looks more like a tree. Okay, wonderful. That's looking great. Okay, you guys, we're gonna get through this painting. We are so almost done. So we're gonna start putting in, we're on to step 4, we're on to our details. So the things we're gonna finish up, I didn't put the black part in my truck, which is the other, like the underside of my hood. No, the cab. The underside of the cab here. I didn't put that in yet, so I'm gonna put that in. Are you laughing because I don't know the parts of a truck? You know what? Valid. I should know parts of a truck. We even have a truck. My husband has a 4Runner. Is that right? Is that right?
That's not a truck.
It's a 1992.
SUV.
No. Wait.
A Toyota 4Runner is an SUV.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what does he have? It's a
His red
Tundra?
truck?
His red truck. Is
I
it a
don't know-
Range?
I don't know what it is. Is it
There's-
a Ranger?
No. No, it's not a Tundra. Oh my gosh. I wish he could correct me right now. I'm
He
so-
was watching earlier.
I know. I'm so mad at myself for not remembering the name. Ford Ranger.
Ford Ranger.
Yeah, that's a truck.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
1992.
1992 Ford Ranger.
Yeah,
He's had that car since he was 16.
That's a awesome truck.
That's legit.
We're like 30, just so you guys know. That's how old we've had it, how long we've had it. Okay, so I'm just going to do the underside of my cab here. I'm putting this black in. What?
Brock says, Ford Ranger, you heathen.
What's wrong with the Ford Ranger? Wait, is that not what it is?
No, that's what it is.
Okay. Brock, you drive a... What does he drive?
Let's guess that.
I'm not even gonna try. I know it's blue. Oh man, I look so silly. One time I was rear-ended by this lady and we were figuring out insurances. And the insurance company was like, they have a lot of cars on their insurance. Which one was it? And I was like, it was black. And she was like, are you serious? She's like, you can't tell me what kind it was? It seriously took like 2 hours to figure it out. Because we had to like Google the pictures of all of their things listed, and I had to be like, that one. So embarrassing. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm just filling in this underside of the cab. Yeah, no, that looks great. And then, okay, on this windshield, there is a very thin black line on the inside red part of this windshield. Now, if you don't want to put this in, don't put it in. If you're not very good at doing thin black lines, don't stress about it, just don't put that part in. They won't even notice. But I'm just going to do the tiniest hint of the inside of that truck. Artist brain, I can tell you what it looked like. That's what Carissa said, 100%. I'm like, it was big, it was black, it had this shape.
4 wheels.
Four wheels, I think. Listen, I don't know anything about cars. I just sometimes know how to draw them if I can see them.
I was going to say, you should have just drawn it.
I know. I'm like, give me a pencil. I can sketch that out right now. Okay. So I did the underside of my cab. Now I'm going to do the little steering wheel, which is just this little guy poking out. I think somebody painted one of these with their cat driving it. It was like a little,
adorable.
It was so cute.
That's awesome.
They did a cat on driving the truck. I thought that was really cute. And brave. I love it when people just like do their own thing. It's really great.
I want to see this truck poking out of the rain boots.
Yeah, somebody paint this truck coming out of rain boots.
Yeah, please.
You guys have pretty much done everything else and it's been awesome.
Or with rain boots like next to the door.
Yeah, I guess that's cool too.
That makes more sense.
It would make more sense
The
to have
boots
rain
by the
boots
truck.
right here.
Yeah.
The boots by the truck.
Okay.
With the unicorn.
Allie, Beth, Blake,
does.
we good?
Should be good.
Does that have batteries, that top part?
Yeah, but it shuts off after it disconnects.
Oh, it shuts off. We're back on, you guys. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks for sticking with us. Okay. We just have like...
YouTube just lost sound?
Sorry about that. Okay, we just have a couple more things to do. Oh, she said still no sound.
No, it's good.
We good?
It was just turned down a little lower.
Okay, it's back. Thanks, Susan. Okay. So, now what we're going to do really quick is some of these glares we got to blend out on our truck because they're too white. So some of them, so what I like to do, like this bottom one on this wheel, I'm gonna blend out so it's like a soft pink. I'm gonna try and use the color that's already, ooh, try and use clean water if you can. I'm gonna steal some of yours. Try and spread out some color. Now, if you took too long to spread out this red, which is totally possible, it could not be spreading at all, then you're actually just going to take a light wash and fill in that section with the light red wash.
Oh, mine works.
Oh, good. Yeah, sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. I think it just depends on how
Should I
long
do
it's
it
been
with the other
drying.
one?
Now, what I would say for this top one is you're only gonna do the beginning part of it, just a little right here. And then the rest of it is we're gonna leave bright white. If it doesn't work out that way, don't stress.
Like right there?
Yep, that's perfect. And the reason for that is glares, even glares themselves transition. They have soft areas and they have really bright areas. So that's why we leave some of it bright white. Same thing on this hood. I'm gonna blend out some of this red. That's okay, your tree is really big and it's covering your glare, and that would happen in real life too. So just some of it, just like this corner part, I'm gonna leave this part white, and then this one I'm gonna blend out a little bit on the rear fender.
So my windshields are dirty.
Yes,
Which happens too.
that totally happens. If you saw my car. Well, it's funny, we had Nicole, who's our lettering, she came in, and for people who drive in snowy areas, you get a substance on your car from the salt that they use to salt the roads. And she had no idea what that was. She was just like, what is going on? I'm like, well, it's the salt. She's like, the salt from what? I'm like, the roads. So when it snows, you can drive on them. She's like, they salt roads to... And I'm like, you living in LA, don't know. I've learned it too. Okay, so, and then details is always about doing these finishing touches. If there's anything you want to retouch, if there's a shadow you want to put back in, if you want to make a color stronger, now is the time. I actually feel really good about my truck. I don't really feel like I need to make any further adjustments, but if you want to do it on your painting, please feel free. Oh, also someone noticed that we didn't have a hinge for our front door, our door here. I didn't put one in when I painted it. I didn't think anyone would notice, and I was wrong.
And I
Somebody noticed.
plot twist, people watch the videos.
Plot twist, people pay attention to trucks. Oh, there's one other area we gotta do. Sorry, I just remembered. Right here between the front part of the truck and the back part, this space is actually supposed to be black. So I'm gonna put that in right now. And that's because they're actually two different like sections of the vehicle, and there's a slight space in between them. So it's just a little thin black line going in between. And then while we're here, I'll put in a little thin line for the hinge for the door. Now what I'm gonna do for this, because I don't want it as dark as this, right? Because this is a dark, heavy space there's actually a physical space in between the vehicles, so it should be darker and it should be thicker. This part here, where it's just a hinge, is just gonna be kind of like a very light line, just a hint, right there. And that way the door can open. So good job paying attention, you guys.
That looks so good.
And if you don't want to put it in, don't put it in. It's your painting. I didn't put it in with my first one, and I'm not mad about it, but I thought I should show you guys how to do it if you wanted to. Now the other thing that I want to put in, if you guys want. Now I know that you guys like backgrounds, okay? I don't know if you've noticed this about me. I don't love backgrounds. I love the contrast between a fully three-dimensional object and a super white flat background. That's just my preference as an illustrator. I usually don't put shadows in for the ground, but if you do want to shadow your tires to ground them to the surface, I'm just gonna use the black that's already there. I'm just gonna use wet damp brush, and I'm actually just going to splay out this color that's already there, just like that. Then I'm gonna rinse my brush, and do it a little bit. Because even shadows themselves, they're darkest closest to the subject, and then they get lighter as they splay out. That's how shadows work. So right underneath my tire is gonna be my darkest gray. And remember, you don't have to do this. I'm just showing you how to do this if you want. And then I just use water to lighten it up as the farther it gets. And you want to do it a little bit behind the tire as well. Shadows, because the ground keeps on going behind the truck. So the shadow wouldn't stop right here at the edge of the tire. It would go a little bit behind it as well. So you can see that I'm just taking like the bottom, this bottom corner. Yeah, you're doing great. This bottom corner here, and that's what I'm spreading around. I'm not doing this straight line because I want to show that the ground keeps on going underneath the truck. And then same thing on this front tire. You're gonna just spray out that color a little bit more. Do one more rinse of water. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah, Keenan, question.
There, comment from Mary. She's got some jokes.
Mary, bring on the jokes. I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay.
I have to find the thing. Here it is.
Okay.
Mary says, question, how is a golf ball different from a Chevy?
How is a golf ball different from a Chevy?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
You can drive the golf ball 200 yards.
People are hating on Chevy.
Oh,
Mary,
oh,
good
so
joke.
What is found on the last 2 pages of a Chevy's owner's manual?
What is found on the last 2 pages of a Chevy's owner manual?
The bus schedule.
The bus schedule. Maria's like, I have a Chevy, and that is not funny at all. Oh, those are great, Mary. Thank you for that. Okay, so that's just grounding our truck a little bit onto our paper. Just putting in a little shadow on something is a great way to ground it. Personally, I'm not crazy about backgrounds, but I will try harder to put more in because I care about you guys. All right, fine, I'll do it. But I think we're ready to show them. You guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna hold them up to the front camera. Sorry, we don't have the close-up.
You can get behind if you want.
Yeah, we're gonna come around. And as you can see, they all look awesome and different from each other, and that is the point, you guys. Good job. They look so good. Let's clap. Let's clap it out. If you guys painted this, thank you for painting with us. I truly have such a fun time every Tuesday night painting with you, so I hope you do too. If you paint it, share it, okay? And I know that sounds scary, especially if you're new, but let me tell you something. I am 100% where I am today with the job that I have right now because I started sharing my artwork online. That is the total truth. That's where I get a lot of my work. That's how I got this job. And it's because people know that I paint, and that's how you let people know. It's like, hey, I painted this, and they're like, oh, I didn't even know you painted. And you're like, yeah, I paint. And then they think you're so cool, and it's so fun. So even if it's not your best, even if it's not the proudest one, you just gotta start. And the more you do it, the easier it is. And then as you get better, you'll get super excited to post your artwork, and you'll be like, I can't believe I made this, look at it. And people are like, that's so amazing, and you're like, thank you. So I know it's scary, but you guys can do it. So do it. Tag us in it. Let's Go Make Art is our Instagram handle. Same on Facebook. We also have a really wonderful Facebook group called Let's Make Art Together. Very supportive for all stages, beginners or people who are a little bit more experienced. Don't be intimidated by what other people make. Remember, we share work not to compare it, but just to show people what we can do and how we approached it and all of those things. Super fun. You guys want to see what we're doing next week?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We are doing our winter snowstorm. Super fun. Now this one we're gonna have crazy fun with salt, texture, all of that good stuff. So the tutorial for this will be released tomorrow, so you guys can see that. And just a reminder, for the first time since January, I'm taking a Tuesday off because it's Christmas. So we are not doing a live paint along on Christmas, okay? So don't be here. Well, you can, I just won't lead you. But but this is the project. It's super fun. Some of you guys have done it already, and this one is gonna be so cool because the salt work. You're gonna get way different textures. The one I painted for the video tutorial that we release tomorrow looks way different from this, but in such a cool way. I love it very much. So you guys are really awesome, and I think that's all I need to say.
We're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This was fun.
bye.